Well, good morning. It is a new day. It is a new year. We have nothing but hope in our hearts.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. That is absolutely right. I just tweeted that this morning. Listen, how about the Debbie Reynolds, Carrie Fisher happening? So, I mean, back to back there. It's like she died.
Oh, my God. Isn't that just one of the most shocking things you've ever heard?
Really crazy.
Wow. Just, shocking and heartbreaking all in one. I mean, my God. I mean, first of all, with Carrie Fisher just, suddenly, going into cardiac arrest on a plane, flying back home, and that's a heartbreaking story right there.
Yeah.
But then you're right, add to it that, her mother, her beloved mother, who they've become very close over the years, even though, as we know, there were hard times and there were difficult times throughout the years. Now, all of a sudden, she passes away from a broken heart. You couldn't write this and people would believe it. But, we've seen this happen in life. I mean, how many of us know somebody who they were a married couple and the wife passed away and the husband only made it a couple more months or something like that?
Yeah, you hear about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you hear about it, and it just seems like, Debbie Reynolds was holding on for that kid, and now it's over, and it's sad because Debbie Reynolds, I think a lot of younger people don't understand who she was in Hollywood. I mean, she was really one of the biggest female stars in the 1950s. She was as scandal-plagued as Angelina Jolie or Kim Kardashian ever were. Someday we'll talk about all that. But just,
well, she's not a
major icon.
She's not a big Liz Taylor fan for many reasons. And what was interesting about her story, and I'm assuming there's the HBO documentary going on tomorrow night. They were going to run it later, and they're moving it up now because of the death. But that'll be on HBO tomorrow night. It's going to be interesting to tape or watch whatever you're doing tomorrow night. But she had no experience whatsoever. They just liked her. She was at a screening, or somebody saw her at an event. Maybe it was a beauty pageant type thing. And and she had no experience at all. And they put her under contract, trained her how to dance, and there she is a year later dancing with Fred Astaire.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and that's kind of the way it used to be in Hollywood, and maybe even still is today to some level. Where just you were seen, the story of being seen at the soda counter at Schwab's,
right.
Just drinking a soda and looking beautiful, and somebody saying, "I can make you a star."
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of things used to happen all the time.
Yeah.
So she is really the embodiment of that. And I know you mentioned as a joke that, she's not the biggest fan of Liz Taylor. The truth is, after the big scandal that they were involved with, they were always best friends, and they became best friends again down the line. They became best friends again because eventually Liz realized she made a horrible mistake.
It was you don't take my man. All right, and then one quick thing, because I want to get to the movies for this weekend, but I really felt bad for Steve Martin. Who tweeted out after Carrie Fisher's death that she was that when he first came to Hollywood, when he was first starting out in the business, he saw this woman, Carrie Fisher, and she was the most beautiful woman in the world in his eyes. And everybody ragged on him because apparently Carrie Fisher was against the whole beauty thing, and she didn't fall into that same category that her mom did. Did you see any of that? He had to take the post down.
Oh, yeah, he had to. It's really amazing. I mean, Carrie Fisher probably would have been fine with it if you ask me. I mean, she was a very talented writer, a very, very, formidable foe. And Steve Martin acknowledges that, too. And what he was just trying to say is, hey, when we first see this woman, all we see is her beauty, but I got to know her. And I got to know how amazing she is underneath all that, and that made her even better.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of, hey, Steve Martin, welcome to the 21st century where everything you say is twisted by somebody else to promote their agenda. So he gets beaten up for it,
And he had to be like, screw this, I'm just taking it down. Steve Martin, of all people, who, to me, seems like one of the nicest guys in Hollywood.
He is.
But, going through that was just a terrible thing. But, the beautiful thing, the beautiful people. We were on vacation, and we went to Miami Beach, and I'm going to tell you something. You walk through, the hotel, and you just look around, and I said to my wife, man, do I feel out of place. These people are all beautiful. Because it's amazing. Is it wrong to look at somebody and say, wow, is that so terrible today? Apparently it is.
Well, it's only terrible today if the people who are very aggressive about feminism accuse you of being a sexist for daring to point out a woman might be beautiful.
Right. By the way, Willie,
and this is a great example. Steve Martin's not saying that's the only thing about her.
Right.
He's telling us about everything else.
He's not
almost proving their point. He's proving their point that, I didn't realize it until I talked to her, and I needed to take that into account. He's actually making their argument for them.
I'd like to qualify what I said about, I felt out of place. I said to my wife, you don't clearly feel out of place here.
That's right. Your wife fits in perfectly.
I feel out of place just sitting at home with you. It's just incredible.
Well, that's the truth. But I think it's funny. I mean, is it better to walk through the lobby of a place and go, ugh?
You're right. I don't know about you, but I started thinking there's got to be bed bugs here. I mean, I'm just looking around. These sheets cannot be clean. Okay, all right. Hidden Figures. We have 3 movies here for the weekend. Hidden Figures. What do you think?
Yeah, Hidden Figures, a very inspirational story, the true story of 3 African-American women who truly helped make the NASA program as successful as it was. They're working for NASA in the early 1960s. We're struggling to beat the Soviets, trying to become the first country to put a man in space to orbit the planet and come back safely, and the program's not going very well. And you've got Taraji P. Henson, who it turns out is maybe playing a woman who may be one of the most brilliant mathematicians who's ever walked this planet. And she finally gets her opportunity to become part of the program and to really get involved in the heavy-duty calculations that are going on. And, because she's African-American, she's facing a lot of horrible, horrible obstacles, but she gets a chance to prove herself and become maybe one of the key figures in making this successful.
Wasn't it also because she was a woman, too? So not only was she a woman, but she was also a black woman.
Yeah, I mean, talk about just facing one of the most, just being stuck in a situation where everything's against you. I don't know how else to put it. And she shows you how she overcomes this with her ability. And it's pure ability. It's just earning everybody's respect and proving how good you are, and everybody realizing, you are.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to watch her transform this character from kind of being a little mousy, being a little bit quiet, and becoming a true leader. I go 3.5 waffles.
Wow.
And the other 2 ladies in the movie, Janelle Monáe and Octavia Spencer, play women who are just as inspirational.
I really want to see this movie. I think this is going to be that's going to be really good. And it's very interesting how this movie is kind of about what we're talking about with Steve Martin and what you can and can't say. You got to feel bad for the people. I think I'm one of these people. I don't believe that I discriminate, whether it's gender or sex or anything. I don't feel that way. But you sometimes get punished when you say something innocent because of what has happened over the past. And that's what happened to Steve Martin. And this movie seems to be about that, how they had a lot of obstacles in their way, and they overcame it.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what this movie is.
Monster Calls. Young boy has to cope with his mother's impending death. What's the story here?
Well, right there, and because his mother is so ill, his mother, played by Felicity Jones, the star of Rogue One, he's had to kind of rush to become an adult, and it's harming his life, and he's having trouble fitting in, and he's having trouble coping. And every night at 12:07, he's having nightmares. And one evening, this massive tree that lays in a field just beyond his window springs up, comes to him, and says, I'm going to tell you 3 stories, and then you're going to tell me your nightmare. And we understand that these stories are shaped to show this kid that life is a lot more complex than you might realize. And adults live in a world where we have shades of gray, and where it's about perspective, and where it's about how much you know and what you know, and not to be afraid of the conflicting emotions that you have inside of you. And that's an amazing tale to tell, and that's a very deep movie to tell. This is based on a children's novel, but do not try to take any little kids to it. They're just not going to get it. Probably your teenagers are going to get it a little bit more, and obviously us adults will get it better as well, or we adults. Three waffles.
And quickly, Underworld. I'm out of time. Underworld, what do you think of this one?
One waffle. Just call it what it is. Kate Beckinsale in tight leather for 2 hours.
Looks good in that trailer, I got to tell you. Looks good in the trailer. All right, Willie, thank you. It's wafflemovies.com. Willie, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.